So in my last video, I talked about briefly in passing how both OpenAI and Anthropic released new models this past week, and that it wasn't all that exciting because they all keep releasing new models all the time. And for the average user like myself, it's not going to be that big a deal, not enough to make you want to switch providers from one to the other or be particularly scared of anything. But there was one thing about that new ChatGPT model that I thought was very interesting that a lot of people might be a little scared about. Okay, so this is GPT 5.3 Codex. That's the one that OpenAI released on February 5th, which was Thursday. And the thing about it is, and I'm going to read this directly from their website. GPT 5.3 Codex is our first model that was instrumental in creating itself. Um, so the Codex team used early versions of that same model to debug its own training, manage its own deployment, and diagnose test results and evaluations. Our team was blown away by how much Codex was able to accelerate its own development. And this isn't the only example of AIs building, you know, AIs. The latest OpenClaw was vibe coded, and a lot of the development that's happening on it is also vibe coded. The official policy of the project is vibe code away. We don't care. So, yeah. And vibe coding is where the AI writes the code. So the scary way of looking at it is that the AI is building itself. It's kind of a runaway snowball effect that we are approaching the singularity where AI is developing so fast that we can no longer control it because it's the first technology that we built that will actually build its own next version of that technology. And so yes, nice frightening headline. You'll probably see it elsewhere once more people pick up on this little part of the news. And yeah, it kind of sounds a little scary, but uh it's not new. It's not true that there's like a runaway effect and that that this is an absolute thing to be terrified about. All right, so first of all, every technology or nearly every technology is built using that technology or previous generation of the technology that we had before. Technology builds on itself. Anybody who's played one of those civilization type games knows that with each new technology that you invent, you open up more new technologies that you can invent and you accelerate the development of new technologies. So, for example, once we got electricity, we now use electricity to create more electricity related technologies. When we built a new electrical power plant, we used electricity to do it. So we use everything that we've built before as tools to build the next version of that thing, right? Um, and so that has always been the case. That's always been the case. And our technology development has always been on an exponential development curve. And the thing about exponential curves is that they look like this. They start out low, then all of a sudden they go high. And no matter how much you zoom in or out on an exponential curve, it always looks that way. And, but it also looks that way when you zoom out, no matter how much you zoom out. And this is very, very different from a singularity or an asymptotic curve. And I'm speaking as a math nerd here because I was a math major, and an asymptotic curve is approaching this vertical line and then keeps going straight up. And even, that old quote from the movie Clueless, the limit does not exist. So the limit does not exist. It goes up straight up, right? And an exponential curve looks like it's going straight up, but it's not going straight up. It keeps going up forever, but it's not going straight up. It's just going up at a higher and higher angle because it's accelerating. And that's kind of a tricky thing to kind of grasp because it feels like we're hitting a singularity. It feels like we're seeing like growth straight up, but that's not what actually happening. It is actually speeding up from a low rate to an increasingly higher rate. And the curve looks the same when you zoom out or you zoom in. There's never a spot where it's like, once you zoom in, it always looks like that, right? When as you adjust the scales as you zoom in, it's always going to have that shape curve. That's how exponential curves work. It's kind of cool. So we've always had an exponential growth in technology. When agriculture was invented, there was an explosion of new stuff that we were able to do as a result because we had agriculture. When we invented metal, we got an explosion of new stuff that we could do because of related metal, because we had metal, and the invention of metal accelerated everything else we could do, right? So that has always been the case throughout history, and there's no sign of it stopping. So new technologies will always accelerate the path of creating new technologies. The next thing that people get scared of, that is not true, is that not only is it not a brand new thing, but also it's not the case that AI is technically building itself, right? We are building the next generation of AI using AI. And we're also using electricity and the wheel because we drive to work. And we're using textile production because we're wearing clothes and that keeps us warm. And that's why we're able to do work and all these things, right? So we are using the previous generations of technology to help us develop the new one. And we are doing it because we are deciding that we want a better AI. We want a faster AI. We want a smarter AI. We want more powerful AI. That is a decision that we're making because we have initiative. We have, there's a word for it. We have agency. We have sentience. We are able to make decisions and act independently on those decisions based on our dreams and desires. AI does not currently rate it is not currently at that level of self-determination. So we as humans have self-determination, AIs do not. If at some point AIs develop sentience and we give them the rights of humans to also do things, then we can talk about, oh, the AI is doing stuff. But right now, it's we are doing stuff using AI. Will AI ever have its own ability to do things? I think that's more of a question for philosophers than technologists necessarily. But personally, I think that if AI gains the ability to do stuff, even if it's very smart at doing it, then basically it is similar to having immigration. It's like, oh, smart people from India are moving here and starting companies. So there's downsides to that because it gives us Elon Musk. There's also upsides to that because it gives us SpaceX. I kind of like SpaceX despite, everything else because I think it's cool. Uh, so there's pros and cons of it, but immigration by itself is not a bad thing. It brings in new ideas, new perspectives, and new energy. It does not reduce employment. It creates jobs because it grows the economy. So I'm a big fan of immigration. I'm a daughter of immigrant parents. Our country was founded on immigration. I am. I also used to cover outsourcing, and I used to cover like all these topics. And it does not reduce jobs. It creates jobs because it grows the economy. And it doesn't necessarily create the kind of jobs we want it to create. Doesn't necessarily create them equitably. But those are political issues. That's questions of investing in our infrastructure, investing in our educational system, and making sure anti-monopoly laws work and the tax system is fair and equitable. All those things. Those are all political issues that we need to resolve. But the question of having smart beings move in and do smart things has not been a bad thing. And if AI is smart and it is sentient and it does smart things, I personally don't think that's something to be scared of. Smart people in general have not been the monsters that media tends to portray them to be. Like, oh, evil geniuses. Uh, Most geniuses tend not to be evil. They tend to be, normal, boring people, right? Um, Somebody who's really smart will probably want to discuss things with you, then jump straight into fisticuffs, right? And the other thing about smart people is they can plan ahead, they can do risk-benefit analysis, and they understand that having allies is better for them in the long term than destroying everybody. Because we do not live in a zero-sum universe. There is a ton of resources that are available, and we tend not to have a huge amount of overlap when it comes to resources with AIs. AIs need raw materials and they need solar power. And there's plenty of both of those things out in the asteroid belt if we can get out there. And they need us to get out there. There's literally no reason for them to kill us. So, in the short term, I am not worried about this at all. In the long term, as we're approaching the heat death of the universe, having different perspectives will increase the odds of us figuring a way out of the problem. And so I think for that reason alone, AIs are going to want to keep us around because having multiple perspectives is a good thing for solving big problems. And you never know when you're going to get a big problem. An asteroid coming at us to destroy our solar system, whatever, right? Those are big problems. And having different points of view around is going to be helpful. And any AI that's smarter than us is going to be smart enough to see it because it can run the simulations. It's better off keeping us around than not. And then finally, the other thing is when you are not threatened by something, you tend to have different attitudes towards it. So, for example, when lions and tigers and bears used to eat humans like all the time, we were scared of them. It's like, oh no, let's kill all the lions, tigers, and bears so they don't kill us first, right? We are no longer scared of lions, tigers, and bears. I mean, yeah, if we meet one of those one on one, yeah, we're going to be terrified. But if, like, a lion eats me, everyone's going to assume it was my own damn fault. Like, what was I doing teasing the lion, right? I mean, what's wrong with me? We do not blame the lion. We blame the fact that we're encroaching on its ecosystem, right? That's what we blame because lions are no longer a threat to us. We are a bigger threat to lions than they are to us. And we are now in a position of, oh, let's protect the lions, let's save their habitats because it's good for us to have a varied ecosystem because it helps with our long-term survival. And that's how we see things that are not a threat to us. We see them as a potential resource that's worth cultivating and protecting. So if an AI is so smart that it no longer sees us as a threat, that it no longer sees us as competition, which is kind of the way we look at lions today, then there's no reason for it to kill us. So I think the odds are good that AIs will not kill us, that if they do develop sentience, they will become just another smart immigrant that's growing our economy and creating jobs. And yeah, and in the short term, we're like really far from that. We are very, very far from that. Right now, AI is a tool. We're using this tool to accelerate our technological development, just like we have been using tools throughout all of human history. So I am not scared of this. I am feeling optimistic about this. I am interested to see in what happens further, but I'm also a little bit worried about disruptions to my personal job and industry, and I'm hoping to figure out what the next thing is going to be. What are the new jobs that are being created? There will be jobs created. We just don't know what they're going to be yet. And so that's something I'm keeping a very close eye on. And if that's something you're interested in, subscribe and let me know in the comments. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. Bye bye.